All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Tea with Doug G. If you don't know me, my name is Doug Gooden, and welcome if this is your first time, and also a very special welcome to my guest this week, Mr. Michael Lewis-Wedderburn. Michael, thank you so much for coming on, and I'm gonna turn it over to you. You have the floor. Let the folks know who you are, what you do, all that jazz.
All right. Well, first, thank you, Doug, for having me. So for the good people that don't know, my name is Michael Lewis-Wedderburn. I am a sophomore at the University of Georgia. I study sport management. I have a minor in Italian. I love Jesus and I love, music and I dabble in a lot of things and I don't know, I just live life as a regular 20-year-old without, any inhibitions.
Yeah. Hey, look, that's the best way to live life. Well, Michael, very happy to have you on. And I don't know about you, but I'm ready to get into some questions. We have quite a lot of them tonight. So let's hit the ground running, okay?
Cool.
All right. So first question comes from Mr. Ben Tankersley, friend of the show, friend of Vider Media. And Ben actually saw your Instagram handle and he wanted to know, with an Insta name like Sweaterburn, what is your ideal sweater? I don't know what exactly he means by ideal sweater, but what does that mean to you?
So, sweater burn. First of all, my ideal sweater. Some nice, something comfy. I always wear I have a Levi's jacket that's like a white Sherpa style. And then like on the inside it's like green, super comfortable, super nice. So that's like my ideal sweater. And we love a good play off of a last name. So anything comfy, anything nice. Hey, just trying to emulate what I wear.
Nice. Nice, very nice. Are you a cardigan guy per se?
Not necessarily like a cardigan guy, but I'll wear my fair share of flannels. I'll wear my fair share of like zip ups, and I am a jacket guy for sure though.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, good deal. Good deal. I also am a fan of sweaters. I'm not gonna lie, it took me until I got to college to like actually appreciate sweaters. But yeah, awesome. Thank you for that question, Ben. All right, so next question also comes from Ben, and Ben wants to know, Michael, what was your favorite cartoon growing up?
Easy. Favorite cartoon growing up was SpongeBob. Easily.
Oh,
I can reference SpongeBob any day of the week. It's kind of tiring because I think I quote him probably on a daily basis. But hey, I love that show.
hey, look, it's all good. And actually, I was talking to my roommate, actually right before the show started, and he has not seen SpongeBob like extensively. And I'm a person who like I own the first 100 episodes on DVD. So you can imagine that like I'm very into the SpongeBob realm. But yeah, SpongeBob is solid all across the board. All right, well, sweet. Okay, so Michael, you're a very active person. You do a lot of things. You have a lot of what's the word? You wear a lot of different hats, as it were. And I was listening to your podcast earlier today, and you said something that really stuck with me. And you said that you want to share your life with the world on social media. And I was wanting to know, like, how did that come about? Because I know that's probably the opposite of what a lot of people want to do. So, like, what makes it so appealing for you?
Yeah, for me, growing up, I'm that type of person that didn't shy away from limelight. I know a lot of people where it's like anytime a spotlight's thrown on them, they're not the type of person to, go in and jump head first into it. But that was just something that I always loved. And, I loved that feeling of being an open book. And I remember when I think I was 16 when I uploaded my first YouTube video. It's very, very bad. But, it was just a kind of a, foot out the door of just being like, hey, here's how I really am. And I think it was really nice for me to kind of go about the world and to say, hey, here I am in this world. Take me for how I am or don't take me at all. It was kind of nice to kind of set that boundary straight off the line, because it's like, especially on social media, how people say it's so toxic and how it can really lead you into, I share out all of my thoughts and all of my feelings, and there's nothing for me to hide. At that point, it's like you either take me for what I am or you don't. So I think, at least for me, I know I can't speak for a lot of people, but at least for myself, like social media, when I do post, because I really don't post all that often because of like COVID and stuff like that now, but like when I was, especially with the podcast, like I wanted to be very open with the crowd and just with everyone, saying like, here's how I actually feel, here's how I actually think, without having this sense of apprehension within me of just being like, well, maybe I shouldn't say this or maybe I shouldn't say that. It's like, no, here is how I feel within this certain topic, within this certain area of life. And I think it's opened up a lot of doors, and it's allowed me to really think about everything in my life. And it's, at least for me, it's been really good.
Yeah, definitely. And I like the fact that you point out that, like, it's just you living your life. Like there's no filter on that. And I think that's really important for anyone who's doing like content creation, because from experience, I know, like, if you try to put up a front, people are gonna sniff it out really quick, and B, you're gonna get bored with it. Which does bring me to my next question, because we're both people who try to create a lot of stuff, but we've spoken at length about what it kind of means for us to get burnt out. So what would you say that burnout looks like for you in terms of creation, and how do you cope with it?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I think burnout happens to everyone. Like, I don't think there's one person that I've ever met in my life that's really never gone through burnout. We all go through moments and periods of life to where it's like, we just kind of are over certain things. And for me, I remember last year was such a pivotal moment because, like you were saying, like, I put on a lot of hats because I love to do a lot of things. And I think for me, especially at the top of 2020, before, the world kind of like crashed and imploded, I was trying to do a whole bunch of stuff, and I don't think I was mentally taking care of myself in the way that I should have been, and I wasn't feeling myself with the right people and doing the right things. And I think that just led down into a spiral of just utter depression for me. And I had went through a lot last year. So it was really hard to kind of say, okay, like, you kind of just have to dust yourself off, barrel your way on through, because there's no other option. Like, you're either going to live or you're going to die. And I know that sounds like very morbid, but it's kind of true. You have to look at it in the sense of, I'm either going to live and I'm going to do this because I need to work on myself and I need to be better for myself and the people around me, or like, I'm going to give up. And, you can't quit once I'm 20 years in. I don't want to, I don't want to give up now. So, that's my biggest inspiration to anyone. It's like, to cope with burnout. It's like, it's hard. Yes. I mean, it's not like I'm sitting up there and I wake up every day and I'm like super happy. Most of the time I'll wake up every day and I'm like, gosh, dang it, I wish I could still stay in my bed for another 2 hours. But at the end of the day, it's like, I know I have to get up and there's a much bigger purpose in mind. So
yeah, definitely. And I think you hit on a really good point, like, especially during COVID. Like, I feel like that's really like doubled down that sense of like, I have to do stuff. And I think that really accelerates like the burnout process. Like, I know for me, like, for the first like month and a half of quarantine, like, I was doing dance videos every week. And at one point I was just like, I am not enjoying this anymore. I want to stop. Yeah. So now that we kind of are settling into like this new normal, this new like state of being, one thing that I was wanting to know is, how do you handle like keeping, I don't know why I worded it this way. I'm sorry, this is the wrong question. Let me find the question I was actually looking for, because the question I was going to ask was, how do you manage a work-life balance, and what does that look like for you? And if I didn't actually put it in here, I'm gonna be upset with myself. But I don't think I put it in here, but that's fine. Michael, what does work-life balance look like for you?
I know this sounds crazy, but if you talk to anyone that's around me, I don't talk about work as if it's work. Like to me, a work-life balance, especially being in college and everything, like I try to find ways to enjoy my day. So even if I have homework or if I have class or whatever, honestly, it's like the last things on my mind. If anything, I'm more focused on those in between parts. I'm focused on the breaks. I'm focused on really getting to know a lot of people. And you meet people every day, and new people, at least for me, like it just in my life, and being in this new environment, and it's really good, at least for my sanity, to get out there and have new experiences. So my daily life is like, all right, you get up, you do your practical things, yes, but don't forget about those in between moments that really determine your character and determine who you are, because those are the moments that you're going to remember more than being in a class lecture for 50 minutes or an hour and 15 minutes, and I would much rather have that takeaway than, because we can all go to school and learn things. That's great and that's important. But at the same time, it's also important to actually develop a life and social skills and, approach to talk to someone. And I find those things very important.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, I think that's phenomenal. And I totally didn't just write this question so that I could throw up a caption on screen. But yeah. Well, Michael, one thing that you do and that you're actually majoring in is sports management. Mm-hmm. And when my dad heard that you were a sports management major, he just had a heyday and sent a variety of sports centric questions. Because thanks, Dad. Thanks, Doug Sr. Big Doug, as it were. Yeah, so let's just kind of roll through these. So first question, this year's been insane. And there's been this kind of petition out there that, maybe players' records should kind of just ignore 2020. So what are your thoughts on that opinion or that idea that players that this year be stricken from athletes' records?
I don't like that, because that's totally discrediting like an athlete's year of work. Like that's not fair to them. And on top of that too, that's like saying like 2020 didn't happen, in which it did. Now, does it have the full impact that, years past probably have? No, it didn't. And I can understand people's argument for saying like, maybe because of the way that 2020 had panned out, certain situations shouldn't hold as much weight. I can get that conversation. But the conversation to completely just throw it away as if it didn't happen is really unfair, because it's not like these athletes aren't out here working hard and working every day to be good at their sport. So it really isn't fair.
Yeah. And I think that's fair. There's a similar argument going on in the theater world that people should be like given a pass on their resumes, which I know theater world is very different from sports world in terms of like some people just had shows up and vanish. But there is kind of this trend now of like people, if you were working on a show, like put an asterisk beside it on your resume and just be like, I did work on it, I just didn't see it to fruition. All right, well, Michael, my dad also asked this, very fitting given last night was the Super Bowl, and even though I didn't watch it, I understand that Tom Brady stomped all over the Chiefs. So my dad was wanting to know if Tom Brady were a free agent this coming summer and you were the general manager of the Atlanta Falcons, would you pick Tom Brady or would you keep Matt Ryan?
That's a really good question. One, football is not my expertise, so there's that. But then two, with the knowledge I do know about football, or just in sports in general, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I'd actually say keep Matt Ryan. The reason why is because like I'm a fan of athletes who are loyal to their team. And this is no shade to Tom Brady at all, but it's, to me, obviously Matt Ryan's been on the Falcons for how long now? It's been a few years. And I feel like, to completely throw away, your starting quarterback for X amount of years just to pick up Tom Brady, to me seems a little bit disrespectful to the organization in itself. But I mean, obviously I understand people want to win championships and people want to win a ring or whatever the situation may be. But I don't know. I'm loyalty over anything. And I feel like loyalty really speaks volumes to your character. So
Yeah, and I agree with that. My roommates and I, oh my gosh, my mom just said someone was the GOAT. I'm
Tom
gonna
Brady.
put this on screen because, dear Lord, Heidi, I've never heard you say someone was the GOAT, and I don't know how I feel about that. What was I saying? Yeah, my roommates and I agree that Matt Ryan would probably be the better choice. Because I mean, also in this question, I think we're negating the fact that Georgia sports teams are just cursed. They're
Yeah,
just straight
that's
up
true.
cursed. Like, I mean, if you are a fan of any Georgia sports team, you know what it's like to just face constant disappointment.
Yep. Yep.
And on that cheerful note, I'm going to move to another question that my dad asked. So this past season, we saw a lot of changes in just like the dynamics of athletics as a whole. And one of the things that we saw was the presence of a universal designated hitter for Major League Baseball teams. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's something that should stick around? Do you think it's something that should go? I also know that like baseball, I know that this is a question that you had to get outside information from,
Oh
but
yeah.
what's your take on this?
Oh yeah, like again, like football. I mean, I know more about baseball. I definitely do, but again, not my area of expertise. And but if me just thinking about it just wholeheartedly, just I was talking about this with my friend Chase, and it's really funny because it just comes down to the line of offense is more entertaining. So to have a universal DH, I feel like it's something to experiment. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But like, I feel like it's not the worst idea in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You never
Yeah.
know what might happen.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get that. I get that. And in terms of baseball and football, like not being your specialty, I also get that. Baseball most certainly is not. Football, I understand a lot better, but specifically high school basketball for me is like the epitome of sports nirvana.
Oh my
Love it.
gosh.
Um, yeah. All right. So thank you, Father. Thank you, Kerman Douglas Gooden the first, for sending in all those excellent questions. All right. So kind of shifting into something that I can talk about as well. Michael, you're a guy who loves music and you love dancing. If for everyone watching, if you have not had the opportunity to see this man dance, like it is a treat to watch this man dance. Yeah, so Michael, I have some questions for you revolving around music and dance. First things first, what is a type of music and a type of dance that should never mix? I'm talking like a tango to really anything that Bruno Mars puts out.
Well, I
I'm
mean, you could do like a tango to Locked Out of Heaven, like a traditional ballroom tango, not probably like an
That's
Argentine
fair.
tango,
That's fair.
but
That's fair.
like I've seen it happen. Like I'm the number one fan of Dancing with the Stars, so I mean,
Mm,
yeah, I've seen a lot of interesting dance to song combos that would normally not go together. Like I've seen an Argentine tango to "Sexy and I Know It." You know what I mean? Like I've seen some very
I have
interesting
not seen
things
that.
happen on that show. But man, a type of music and dance that should never mix. I feel like honestly, I remember them like if I had to think about it, like if you did an Afro jazz to like Taylor Swift, probably wouldn't it be? Maybe we're branching out a little bit too far, but I wouldn't say there are actually a lot of interesting combos that you wouldn't think go together that do. Like I've seen hip hop with traditional stuff, but I've also seen hip hop to like pop songs. And then I've seen, pop songs go with tangos and like, I have contemporary going with like worship music. Like I've seen a lot of stuff. So I can't say that there's one combo that's like completely far out because I think, dance is super interpretive and super subjective and you could honestly do a lot of stuff, but not everything, obviously. Like there I probably wouldn't twerk to like Christian music or anything, but
I don't think that a lot of Christian music lends itself to twerking.
I don't think it does
Um,
either.
which okay, this is a complete sidebar, but Lily Dickens, a mutual friend of ours, we're talking about this, and we feel that there is a great lack in like the Christian music genre for like music that is just, as the kids say, a bop. Because like I think I can count on one hand like how many good Christian songs there are to like really dance to and like get like into.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, would you agree with that or would you disagree with that?
No, I agree with that. Just because, like, obviously, like a lot of Christian music's made to worship, and people see, I guess, secular provocative dancing as like not worshiping, which in some senses is fair. Like, I probably wouldn't be doing the WAP dance to like, Revelation song. That probably won't happen. But, you know, I wouldn't mind a bop to come out every now and then. It's just like when it comes to music and when it comes to songs, like there obviously there's a time and place, but you can also try and experiment things. Like I don't want to just get a bop from like a Christian rap song because to be fair, I don't even listen to that much Christian rap music. I really listen to just more like contemporary Christian music, but like there can still be something to where it's still entertaining, but at the same time, like you're still getting your life at the same time, something that's gonna make you sweat. I'm waiting for that. But I also think that can come in ways to where like everyone can enjoy it, not just Christians. And if we could go back to music like that, I think it would make the world a little less at war. When we hear a song like WAP or Body Yaddy 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 come out, even though shout out to those songs, even though Body got me in a lot of trouble, but that's a whole other situation.
Well, going off of that, because I'm just interested now. Michael, what's the coolest dance move you've ever done or pulled off?
Oh man, the coolest dance move.
And was it to Body Yaddy Yaddy Yaddy?
It was not to Body Yaddy Yaddy Yaddy. No, but probably the coolest dance move I've ever done. I wouldn't even call it a dance move, but like I learned this in high school, and it's this spin I'm known for. So I can like jump up in the air, do like a whole bunch of spins, and then land at once, which is technically considered like a straight jump in gymnastics with like multiple twists. But that's like as far as like a dance move from an athletic standpoint, yes. And then as far as like actual dance, I stepped in high school and I had one pretty nice solo. I mean I'm not gonna try and like get up and do that, but
it's okay.
Yeah, I mean I love step, and I think anything I've done in step is probably the coolest stuff, because to even pull off some of the stuff that I used to do back in the day was pretty astonishing. And I mean the fact that I can still do it now, that it's still muscle memory, still makes me pretty excited.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's great. Also, step is freaking awesome to watch.
So cool.
Yeah. All right. So going off of that, Michael, I think there are a lot of people that see like people like you who like get out on the dance floor and just own it. And they may want to like stay aside and be like, I'm good. What do you say to the people who are afraid to dance in public?
Do it, because I mean, are you gonna care in 5 years that someone was looking at you? Like one of the biggest moments, because I have a situation that's very related to that. It may not do with dancing, but I remember I went whitewater rafting going on 2 years ago, and a lot of my friends were like, Michael, just jump off. Like you're gonna look at this situation like 10 years later and you're gonna wish that you like jumped into the lake in the middle of whitewater rafting. So do it. So I kind of look at, the people who are afraid to dance. It's like, who cares if you like can't dance? I'm not sitting up here in full ballroom frame. Like I'm not doing that. It's about just enjoying yourself, and that's what dance is supposed to be. If you embarrass yourself, good. If you don't embarrass yourself, good. It doesn't really matter. It's about how you feel, not how anybody else feels about you.
Well said, sir. Well said indeed. All right. So, Michael, kind of shifting topics here. We both are men who appreciate a great podcast. We both are men who host podcasts in our own right. David Mathis sent in a question. He wanted to know if you had to stop listening to one, he said podcast, and I wrote artist, but if you had to stop listening to one podcast from your top 5 podcast in your Spotify rap, which one would it be?
First of all, by the way, David's my roommate for the people who don't know. Of course, he'd give me this question because he knows that like these artists are like my loves. It is so hard. This is the one this is the one thing I truly I cannot answer because we're talking to like that's just I can't like some of these songs have like dictated like these artists have come up with songs that have like literally dictated my life and if I was held at gunpoint and I had to choose one right now because this answer would probably change tomorrow, it's probably Sabrina Carpenter. Shout out to Sabrina Carpenter because she makes bops. We're not going to talk about Skin because I love Driver's License way too much, but
okay, I was about to ask you, where do you sit on that debate?
I'm an Olivia Rodrigo stan now. It's official. But
Okay.
also Joshua Bassett gets too much slander, and I'm a Joshua Bassett stan now. Everyone needs to go stream Only a Matter of Time. That is an excellent song. Excellent song. I'm just blown away. But yeah, Driver's License is amazing. I love the both of them. I can't wait for season 2 of High School Musical, the musical, the series. They now got me on that. I've turned into someone that I never thought because I was slandering the show. Didn't even watch it, but I was slandering it because, obviously High School Musical is like a cult classic. And I was like, it's not going to be as good as the original. I don't know why they're making it. And then I watched it. And although there are some parts that are obviously cringe because like, I'm 20, like watching a show that's like meant for kids,
Yeah.
It may not, there are some parts that may not always be the most entertaining to watch, but I'm just here for both of them. And that's no disrespect to anybody else because the cast is so talented. Like they're amazing. Yeah. However, hashtag Team Rini for life. I don't know what else to say. And, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but season 1 ending got me, especially like I was talking to a couple friends about it. And apparently Joshua Bassett, like everything that he had said in that one scene, they had to do like cut scenes between him and Olivia. And at the time when they were together, apparently, it's all just rumors, of course, but at the time, like he was just confessing all of his feelings out to her. And she like, obviously like is like melting on camera, and that's the moments that they used for the final episode. So every time I watch that scene now, I can't help but to have my heart broken because every time I think about that, I think about Driver's License. But okay.
Gotcha. All right. So sticking on this subject of like what we listen to and things like that, specifically in the podcast realm, Michael, I'm curious, what to you makes a great podcast? What makes something that you want to go back to and listen to?
Wow, that's a really good question. What makes a good podcast is to be authentic and not boring. And authentic isn't boring. Authentic, even if you're yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, there could be a great podcast that people may not necessarily like because it doesn't filter them that well. Like, I don't expect people to fall in love with Fireside Chats the moment they listen to it. They might not be their zhuzh, and that's completely okay. But for the people that do like mine and do consider it a great podcast, I want it to be, filled with great conversation and great meaning. And that can go anywhere between like intentional, deep conversation to actual just fun conversations, whether it be about pop culture, whether it be about sports, yada yada yada. Like, it's just about being true to yourself and speaking your truth because that's all you can do.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so sticking on this trend of podcasting and podcast hosting, you, much like this show, much like Saying the Skeen and Some Jerks, we rely on guests for the creation of content. And one thing that always is that I'm always curious about is, do you prefer for your guests to approach you about being on the show, or do you prefer it to be the other way around?
As much as I would love guests to approach me, I also realize that majority of my guests are in college, and they're still trying to like find their way to have the podcast coordinate within their schedules. So most of the time I reach out to other people and try and coordinate like weeks ahead. But I mean, I love, if anybody wants to be on Fireside Chats, hey, hit me up. I'm gonna be here and we can sit down and discuss like, what do you want to talk about? Because I just love having conversations with people. I love getting to pick their brain and see what they're all about. So
Yeah, definitely. And it's always fun to get another perspective in the room because there's like that unknown factor. Even if you were really good friends with the person, there's that little unknown factor of like, I don't really know what you're gonna say, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
So sticking on this topic of guests, what in your opinion makes a guest stand out from the rest?
Oh man, that's another good question. What makes a guest stand out from the rest is when they come on and you can just truly tell that they immerse themselves in the conversation. Like I
Mm,
don't have to sit there and kind of give like eyes about when they're gonna talk. They just go in and they just speak whatever is on their mind. And that's just I love the way that it rolls because it makes the conversations, as I was talking about earlier, like super authentic, super real, and I want to have those real conversations with them. So if they just come out the gate saying like, here's the truth, like if we're, I'll take episode 4 for example. We brought on, shout out to Max Yankin, and we got his now wife, which is crazy, but at the
mm,
time they were fiancés, Natty, and they talked about, you know, just their love story and how they got engaged, and you know they just came on there and they were just truly authentically themselves, and they just talked about their relationship as if they were back in 7th grade and just got together in this relationship. And it was really, really cool. And you got to see this magic and that spark that now happens. And
yeah.
there's something really beautiful when people just go out there and they're just truly themselves and they talk about whatever they want to talk about.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, and I think everyone kind of has like their short list of like things that they really do like for a guest to like do to make it like much more entertaining and fun. Like with our old podcast, Some Jerks You Talk About Movies. Anytime a guest would like get mad at a movie with us and like gang up on a movie, that was always fun because it was like we're just going to attack this movie that's really inconsequential in the grand scheme of things, but we're gonna have fun doing it.
Yeah.
So talking about your podcast, today specifically, I binged your entire first season of Fireside Chats. It was very enjoyable. And one of the things that you do that I think is so important for any conversational based podcast is you manage to balance really fun, light, and entertaining stuff with fairly like serious, deep questions and topics. So, how do you manage to keep that balance on your show?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, it really just depends on the person I bring on. Like,
Mm,
you know, I try to make sure that that person, whoever I bring on, is really comfortable with what they're talking about. And the biggest thing is to always make sure that like you kind of read the room when you're sitting down and like shooting, because you don't want to sit there and always continue to talk deep, 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 and then it goes into kind of this weird, awkward place. But then you also don't want to make it too upbeat to where people can kind of get lost and off topic. You kind of want to
yeah.
bring it back in. So it's super important to kind of have that balance in order to keep the show running, because then you'll have like an hour and a half, 2 hours of content, and that creates more work for me. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, it's just about keeping it concise and to the point, but also at the same time making sure that, you know, people still have the access to say what they want to say, because I don't want to take that right away from them. And, you know, I'm giving them this platform to speak whatever they have to speak, whether I 100% agree or whether I 100% disagree, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, awesome. Well, Michael, you've got your show, Fireside Chats. I believe you're doing I believe you said you were doing a rebranding. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. It will be called the Hear Me Out podcast now. Of course, the first five episodes will still be called the Fireside Chats podcast. You can
Mm-hmm.
catch it on all streaming platforms that way. I'm not going to change the name of those, but I guess for season 2, I'm, you know, completely changing the brand, and I think Hear Me Out's a much more appropriate title for what I want the podcast direction to go into. And I'm really excited to share this with people because I think it's gonna be good conversation, and hopefully COVID does not get in the way this time. And you know,
Amen.
right? Like I just really want this to work. And I know you had to take a little bit of a break with Tea with Doug G. And like as content creators, it's so hard because you want to create things, and then when
Yeah.
things kind of limit you from doing that. And obviously, like COVID, a lot of the stuff is out of our control. We're like, well, like, what are we to do in the moment? So then you get to thinking and you think about all these ideas, but the biggest thing that you want to do is actually go out and do it and, produce it. And it will come out sometime soon. I had to go through a little bit of a delay, just due to, school and classes and other stuff that I've had to do. But hopefully it will be back very, very, very soon to a phone, laptop, or any other streaming device near you.
Well, yeah, awesome. And like Michael said, first five episodes of Fireside Chats are all available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts. It's a very good, easy binge. Like I said, I binged it all today. I'd listened to bits and pieces in the past, like as they came out, but like today I just sat down and binged the whole first 5 episodes. But highly recommend that you check it out. It's like Michael said, genuine conversations from genuine people. So yeah. And Michael, do we have any idea when the new episodes are going to start dropping?
Expect an announcement sometime this week.
Lovely.
So yeah, I'll just say that.
Hey, well, look, we love to hear that. We also love a little bit of suspense in the conversation. But yeah, Michael, thank you so much for coming on, man. It's always a great time when I get to hang out and talk with you. Did you have a good time?
Yes, I mean, I love you, Doug, and you're an amazing host, and all I do is wish the best for you and just all the projects that you have going on because you're super talented as well. So I'm really grateful that you have this because it's a really, really good platform.
Hey, well, thank you, sir. Thank you. I think you do some amazing stuff as well. And if you check out his podcast, folks, in a couple weeks, he and I are going to be sitting down and having a conversation. I believe we're recording on the 24th of February.
Yes.
Very excited about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you to everyone who sent in questions. Thank you to Ben. Thank you to David. Thank you to my father. Thank you to Rachel Simpson for sending in questions. As always, my mother was very active in the chat. Thanks, Mom. Love
Go,
to
Mom.
see it. Yeah, go, Mom. Apparently, this is not streaming to my personal Facebook. I shared it on the Viter page, but sorry about that. I'll figure it out before next week. But yeah, thank y'all so much for checking out Tea with Doug G. Until next time, I'm Doug Gooden. He's Michael Lewis-Wedderburn. Go on, grab your water and we'll toast. And folks, this has been The Tea. Y'all have a great week.